Welcome to Expose the Ice by the Crappie Chronicles, presented by Clam Outdoors.
Welcome to another episode of Expose the Ice. This episode we are doing Ice Fishing Electronics 101. So we're going to go over a variety of ice fishing electronics from our flasher setups to our Humminbird Mega Live and Mega 360 units and our Dakota Lithium batteries to power all of our electronics. First off, mapping and understanding mapping is a big thing. So what we oftentimes like to do is off the water, we will use the Humminbird One Boat Network app on our phones. This is a big way that we collectively get together before we actually get on the ice to break down water and kind of pinpoint areas that, you know, we want to hit first and do a little off the water homework so that when we get to the lake, we kind of have a game plan of how we want to break down the water before we even get there. It helps eliminate time and a lot of the guesswork. Once we get on the water, if, you know, those spots that we picked out don't work, that's when we revert to our Humminbird Helix units and looking at the Lake Master mapping on there to help break everything down and divide and conquer the body of water a little bit easier. That's a big key for us, is using that depth highlight shading feature of the One Boat Network app and the Humminbird Helix units with the Lake Master mapping. It helps us be able to decipher which part of the water that they're going to be in, and we'll use a lot of satellite imagery as well. You know, portions of the app you can actually go into and be able to take off the mapping contours. You can see weed lines, you know, how clear the water is. But then being able to utilize depth highlights is also huge for us as well. After that, we really look for our live imaging and our Vexilar units to be able to help find and catch the fish. So being able to decipher sonar readings is huge, and understanding what you're looking at is a big thing. With the Humminbird Helix units and the Mega Live imaging, being able to set up the units so your screen is crisp and clear is one thing, but being able to have the units set so that it is right for all your depths is going to be even more important. It's kind of like a ×4 system that we have noticed. So if you're in, let's say, 5 foot of water or even 6 or 7 foot of water, you're not going to want your depth range or your forward range out past that 20 to 25 foot mark. Otherwise, everything that you're seeing on the screen becomes very compressed and hard to see, and it becomes less noticeable. So we make sure that our depth range is at the bottom of the screen. So let's say we're in 6 foot of water or 8 foot of water, we put it to a 10-foot depth range so we can utilize all the screen vertically. And knowing we are that shallow, we will then adjust our forward range to about 25 foot so that everything inside that screen is crisp and clear. If we're over towards that 20-foot depth of water range, we will then adjust it so that we're looking out towards that 60, 70, 80 foot mark. And that's really going to help us utilize that whole screen so that we can pick out the larger individual fish easier. After that, we are now going to be looking towards our flashers. Once we find the fish and are on top of the fish, that's when we utilize our FLX30 Vexilar. Now, a big thing with the 30 is you have multiple power levels and frequencies, and being able to pair the two together is very important. Your power level is based off of your depth ranges. So under 20 foot of water, you're going to want to be in low power mode. 20 to 40 foot of water, you're going to be in that medium power mode, and anything over 40, you can utilize the high power mode. Once you get your mode powers set, you are now going to want to go towards your frequencies. What your frequencies do is very unique to the broadband system of the FLX30, where you have complete cone angle control. Your cone angle is going to range from about 16.5 degrees to about 7.5 degrees, and that is based off of whether you're at a low or high frequency. You have 7 selections to choose between, ranging from 160 kilohertz to 300 kilohertz. 160 being the widest, 300 being the narrowest. With that, your edges of your frequency range are going to be weaker than the middle of your frequency range, since it is still based off of a 200 kilohertz broadband unit. So the edges of the frequencies are going to be a hair weaker. So if you are in a very deep water scenario, you're going to be closer to 180 to 225, somewhere in that ballpark. But in shallower water scenarios, that's where you're really going to utilize your cone angle. So if you're, let's say, in a barren bottom, no structure, no steep breaks, you're going to be using a wide cone angle to anticipate the bite sooner. After that, you're going to go towards your higher frequencies if you're, let's say, on a large school of fish, on a steep break, or in structure. What that's really going to allow you to do is fine-tune your cone angle so you're not seeing all the fish, you're not seeing all the structure, you're just focusing on what's directly below you and interacting with your bait. So the nice thing about the FLX30 is you get the best worlds with it. You get wide coverage area, but you also get the precision of a narrow cone angle. Now, all of these units are great, but they're only so great if they don't have the right power for them. So we really rely on Dakota Lithium batteries, and what these batteries are amazing at is how lightweight and long lasting that they are. So with our flashers, we are running the 12 volt 10 amp batteries. That gives us not only power to run multiple days on a single charge, but it also is super lightweight, which is very important for us for running and gunning. With our live imaging units and our 360 imaging units, we are going to be utilizing the 18 amp hour battery. This 18 amp hour battery is going to give us about 7-8 hours of runtime on the unit. We'll be good to go all day long, and we're going to get very nice crisp sonar images with that clean lithium power that they have. They also have an amazing warranty on these batteries as well. One more thing that we have from Dakota Lithium this year is the power boxes. This is going to be a great tool for us for using inside the shacks, charging up any accessory power items. And not only that, but they've got great accessories on here from not only multiple power ports, but it has lights on it as well. So when we are in the low light conditions, it's going to help us set up, find our way back. There's a lot of benefits to having good lithium power sources. Now, some settings for the Mega Live imaging. What we have noticed is with the Mega Live, you actually can set it to auto, and it does a really good job at deciphering the proper sonar setting for sensitivity based off of, you know, any water condition that you're in. A lot of times we just set it to auto and go. Where the big settings come down to is your forward range and your depth range. On top of that, color palettes are a big thing as well. We seem to like that blue backlit color palette. I believe it's color palette number 13. And what's really nice about that color palette is when you have that blue screen, your strong targets show up as red and they really stand out pronounced. Sometimes that black screen, if you have glare on it, some of the other color palettes can be fairly hard to see. So that blue screen really allows things to stand out nicely. But that being said, everyone's eyes are different and they have a lot of different color palettes to choose from. So sometimes it's worth bouncing around different color palettes because they might look better to you than it does to someone else. Now, using all these tools in conjunction is very important. Like I said, they are tools, and with tools, each one has a specific purpose. For finding fish and breaking down water quick and locating fish, the Humminbird Mega Live unit and Mega 360 unit is very key for us. Mega 360, we're going to use that around hard structures such as cribs, trees, that kind of thing, and the live imaging for actually identifying individual fish, along with the Humminbird mapping on the head. The next tool that we're going to use is the Vexilar unit. That is going to be huge for us identifying the mood of the fish when we're directly on top of them and seeing how they interact with our lure. That is going to be very important for us because it tells us exactly what that fish is thinking at that time and how it's reacting to our jigging cadences and our lure profile and size. And the last, obviously, the Dakota Lithium power sources is huge because that's what keeps us being able to see and find fish and catch the fish. So with that being said, The last piece is an underwater camera. Now, there's multiple different underwater cameras out there that, everyone's gonna have their personal preferences on. These are very useful for us when we are fishing in that weedy vegetation area, or simply just species identification when we can't figure out why they're not biting or what even fish they are. Sometimes they're not the right species you're even looking for. So underwater camera can be a very useful tool at times. We don't oftentimes utilize it as much as we do the Humminbird or the Vexlar or our Dakota Lithium power sources, but that underwater camera is going to be one of those things where if you're on a weed bite or trying to identify certain species, it can be very important. So last but not least, make sure that you use all of your tools together so that when you're out on the water breaking down a bite, you can find and catch those fish quicker and more efficiently. So with that being said, thank you for watching another episode of Expose the Ice.